Hi, friends, and welcome to another episode of Tuesday Tea Time with Sahdi and Omni, where we spill the tea and drink the tea about our weekly spiritual practices. I'm Omni.
And I'm Sahdi.
And today's episode is all about Hecate.
And just for the sake of this episode, we are going to be referring to her as Hecate. There are multiple different ways that you can pronounce her name, and I just want to give honor and respect to people who feel like their way is the proper way to honor her. I was in a metaphysical shop about 8 months ago when I really first started channeling Hecate. I went in and I was asking if they had any Hecate-related items there, and he kind of just looked at me and he was like, "Who?" And I was like, "Hecate."
This motherfucker. You know who the fuck Hecate
Yeah,
is.
he knew who I was talking about. And I was like, yeah, she's a baddie. She's a triple goddess, da 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 da. And I was like explaining it because honestly, I didn't think he was being rude to me at the time. I'd been in there multiple times and I've never had that experience. And he's like, oh, you mean Hecate? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, okay, well, you don't say her name Hecate, you say Hecate because it's disrespectful pretty much. And he's like, yeah, let me show you. We have a whole area over here dedicated to her. So he obviously knew. But he was trying to spiritually check me, I guess.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't want to take away. So if anybody does say it that way, I don't want to sound like it's rude for you to feel the way that you do. I honor everyone's practice.
Yeah.
But for the sake of this episode, this is the way that she has presented herself to me has been through the name Hecate.
Same.
And so that's what I call her. But feel free to put your own spin on any of this that we talk about and say her name the way that you feel resonates with you.
Right. Your connection with a deity is your personal connection. They present themselves differently to everyone because they have to teach you different lessons.
Yeah.
And she's got 3 different ways to pronounce her name because she's the triple goddess, the mother, the maiden, the crone. You're on a different journey. Respect everyone's. So when I first encountered her, I didn't understand how to channel yet. And so I really think she was presenting herself to me and I didn't know how to feel her quite yet. And I kept looking up Freya because I think I'm drawn to the Celtic or Nordic side of the mythos. And I was interested in her because I was looking up on her. And we did do a whole episode on deities and I presented Hecate and Freya, but I hadn't channeled any deities at that point. That was brand new to me. And I was like, I keep thinking that Freya's trying to work with me. At the time I said that, but I just wasn't connecting. I researched her and the Triscan was a big symbol. I have it tattooed on my leg. I have planters upstairs that I got that I was drawn to. I have a chalice that I was like, well, this could be for Freya because it's a goddess and I'm going to put offerings in it for her. And then one night she just hit me like a ton of bricks and all the dots started connecting. And I remember sending Sahdi like this hour-long voice clip about, you know, the Triscan. And the Triscan is associated with a couple different deities, but Hecate, that's like a big symbol for her. And I was like, look at that. And I was like, look at this chalice. And I started turning it around and I looked up where I got it from too. That's what I did. I didn't notice that it's not just one goddess repeated, it's 3 of them. And so I was like, it's very intentional. And I looked up where I got it and it is for Hecate. And I was like, son of a bitch. And then I was like, and mugwort. So I astral traveled, and I've talked about this before on our show, to Haiti. And I went into the shop and I was asking him about mugwort. And at that time, I had no idea what mugwort was. She's the deity of nightmares. She can go into your dreams. And it wasn't a nightmare, but it introduced me into mugwort, which helps you lucid dream. So she was like, you need to start taking this. And that is one of her herbs you can use as an offering for her too, which, just so we're touching base, our tea tonight that we're drinking is mugwort, lavender, and honey in honor of Hecate. The way Sahdi connects with a lot of deities, where she sits down with them and she talks to them and she gets really in-depth connection and lessons. For me, I learn little bits from them, where like one night I did a channeling ceremony where it was just her. I have a deck dedicated to her, a crow deck. And I did a channeling where I was doing readings for my close spiritual friends. I talked about this before, where it was just spot on. And I did like 4 or 5 spreads and I was doing reverse cards and it was just amazing and magical. And I very much associate her with crows being her messengers. I know a lot of people do. That's why I dedicated my crow deck to her. But one time I went to the beach after me and Sahdi's job closed down. I went out there for some clarity. And now there are crows at the beach. But this particular time, I walked out to the shoreline and then walked a mile down the beach and back. And as soon as I walked to the shoreline, 3 crows appeared. And I remember taking pictures and sending them to Sahdi and to our friend Sass and like, look at this. This is weird that they're following me. And they followed me all the way back. And here recently, somebody was saying, well, yeah, where the sea meets the earth, that's a crossroads. And Hecate is the goddess of the crossroads. And that's like a big crossroad. And I was like, that's why I always feel her at the beach.
And sometimes it's like that with deities and goddesses. they'll make their appearance to you in increments like they did with you. With me, it was a little bit different.
Yeah.
And there's no right or wrong way.
Yeah.
A deity will come to you in the way that is best for your evolution.
There was somebody that I had interviewed for the episode on deities where she had talked about where she'd come to her since she was a little girl, but she didn't know who it was. She was scared. She thought it was a Statue of Liberty in her bedroom.
Right. But with me, I had never been drawn to Hecate. Because I'm in the spiritual community, of course, I had heard her name multiple times. I had respect for her, but I never felt called to do research on her or anything like that. And when people would talk about Hecate, you know, sometimes if you're resonating with something and you hear somebody talk about a certain practice or something, like your ears perk up and you're like, what are you talking about over there?
Yeah.
And it perks your interest. I never had that with Hecate my entire life. It was kind of a shock to me what ended up happening and how powerfully she came into my life and made herself known to me.
Yeah.
So one night I decided to do a big new moon ritual for something that I was trying to manifest. So a big spiritual ritual outside for the new moon. Mm-hmm. And I was doing a ritual, and some people call it pulling down the moon. And what it is you connect fully with the moon goddesses, and then you pull that energy into yourself. You're invoking them into your body. So it's like a mild possession. So I had everything ready. I'd planned it all day. I had a big blanket out in my backyard, and I had wine and candles, and we were ready to do a blood ritual. And I had everything I needed, my petitions and wine. So I went out into the backyard, and I was about 20 minutes into my ritual. The presence that I felt coming towards me, because I had my eyes closed at this point, I was doing blood magic, and usually I would do it with my fingertip. Mm-hmm. This time I was called to put it more down towards my wrist on the palm of my hand.
Right.
And I never really felt to do that before. So it was like a new energy around me kind of guiding me to do something different.
Right.
And the energy felt feminine. It felt dark, but not scary. I wasn't afraid of it at all. Once the blood came out onto my petition, I started reading it out loud, and I could feel this entity coming closer and closer and closer to me as I closed my eyes. It almost felt like magnetic with electricity, if you can imagine that.
Yeah.
So it was a magnet, and it was like getting pulled towards me. And when it went inside of my body, when she went inside of my body, it almost felt like a light electrocution, but very mild, not shocking. And it passed all the way through my body. And once it did that, I couldn't move. I felt like my body was paralyzed, but not in a bad way. It didn't freak me out.
Yeah.
It wasn't like sleep paralysis or anything like that where you're like, I need to move. It was almost like you need to stay still. And so I was just grounded in the position that I was in, and I still had my eyes closed. And I was taking a few deep breaths, and I was so curious. Imagine me out in the middle of my backyard, 2:30 in the morning, and I'm like paralyzed, and not paralyzed in fear. It was almost like a euphoric feeling that came over me. After a few minutes, I asked out loud, I said, "Who are you?" Because I was just so curious. I worked with multiple deities and triple moon goddesses and things like that before. I'd never felt this presence. Gently in my ear, she said, "Hecate." And I could hear it so clearly. It was almost like a loud whisper.
Yeah.
And my whole body just came back to life. It was like, and I like jolted, and I looked around. I couldn't see her, but I could still feel her. I went like running in the house to tell my husband about it. I was like, this is so crazy, the experience that I just had. And so after that, I had never had a deity talk to me like that either.
Right.
Just clearly, I ask a question and they answer it. So I was like, she's a baddie. Like,
Yeah.
she is fucking powerful. The next day, I decided that I was going to get up and I was going to learn everything that I could learn about her. And my next day off that I had, because I had been thinking about her all week, I was like, I'm going to make an altar for her. I'm going to get a statue for her. And, you know, I've been doing this for a long time. So I had all these ideas of what I would need to build something inside of my home for her. And so on my day off, I got up and I was just so excited to be gathering all these things for her shrine. Right. And so when I woke up in the morning, my husband was like, "Man, I had the weirdest dream last night." And I was like, "What happened?" And he was like, "I was in this apartment or something, like on the second story, and these two huge black dogs were trying to get in through the window and like get me." And I was like, fuck, that's Hecate, because all week I had been researching about her and I know that she had connection to dogs, especially black dogs.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, oh, she's a baddie. She can not only get to me through me, but she can get to me through the person sleeping next to me.
Yeah.
That was the first thing that happened when I woke up that morning. And I went to 3 metaphysical shops. The first one was the guy that snubbed me on her name, the Hecate. But he did show me an area where they had a lot of things dedicated to her. And I was kind of looking around. I didn't find very much. I found a couple little things, but I had a pocket full of money and I was ready to spend it because
You knew this was a big deal.
and I wanted to honor her. So I leave that place and I end up going to another metaphysical shop and same thing happened. I'm looking around. I'm like, oh, I'm going to buy some things and this kind of resonates, but it didn't really feel like anything was calling my name with her. I get in the car after I leave the second place and I just been playing my music randomly. And a song that I never heard before, it's called Hecate, came on the second I got into the car. And so I was like, okay, like the whole day, as I was leaving my house, even my neighbor's dogs don't bark very much. And they were going crazy barking as I left the house. I mean, there was like so many synchronicities. I couldn't be like, this is coincidence.
Sahdi was messaging me all day.
All day long, it was like, this is happening and this is happening. This is happening. And it was just like so synchronistic. I could feel her with me all day long, which is unlike spirits, especially stronger ancient spirits like her. They don't really have time to babysit you and sit with you all day long.
Yeah.
But she did. It was like she took me in as like one of her kids and she's like, I'm going to stay with you all day.
I'm getting chills.
The second place I went, they had this like tarot deck and it glows in the dark. And it wasn't Hecate related, but she's like, get that. Like it was almost, she was in my ear all day, kind of just telling me, do this, do that, go to this place.
I like that
place.
one. It's shiny.
Right? Listen to this song, whatever. And so I grabbed the deck and that is my Hecate deck. And that is only for me and her.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you why in a minute. And she's going to hit everybody different, but I just wanted to share my story with you to see if like anybody else out there might resonate with this. Anyway, get to the third shop, looking around. And this shop, their main deity that protects their entire shop is Hecate.
Oh,
They have an entire through the veil, and they have an entire section dedicated to Hecate, and they have so much stuff dedicated to her. And I went in that shop and I looked around. And I literally couldn't find anything. Nothing was resonating. I'm asking Hecate, like, is this? And she's like, nope, nope, nope. When I go to a shop like that, I feel like I have to buy something. It's just like respectful, even if it's just a candle or something. So I'm looking around and nobody's at the front counter. And I just didn't want to leave because I felt like that was rude for some reason.
Well, yeah, we're trying to support the spiritual community in their local shops.
Yeah, and I looked down and I see this little playpen. And I was thinking it's the owners. Maybe they have their kid with them or whatever. So I was kind of over by the playpen. I was looking on the wall for something. And all of a sudden, boom, I feel something big, huge, hit me from the back and knock me a couple steps. And I hear the guy behind me. He's like, oh, I'm so sorry. She's still a puppy. And I turn around and look, and it is a huge fucking puppy. I don't know what kind of dog this was, but this big, huge, fluffy black dog, about 4 feet tall. But you could look at its face and tell that it's definitely a puppy. But it was like a big puppy. Turn around and look. I'm like, oh, that's Hecate giving me a message. You had even said I should have grabbed some of the dog's hair to put on the shrine, but I didn't even think about that. I just gave the puppy some love and I bought a candle or something and then I left. And then I realized, and I can't even remember everything else synchronistically that happened that day.
Yeah.
So I put the shrine together and I put everything up for her. I was at her shrine. I set everything up and I felt like it was great. You know, I ordered a statue of her online and everything that I had bought throughout the day, I put it up on her shrine. And I was trying to do the tarot cards inside the house. And nothing was working for me. And so I heard her say, go outside. That's where you'll find me. And I was like, oh, she's not the type. She would rather have a shrine outside than inside. And so once I got outside in my backyard, the messages and the intensity of her being there with me, it was like I was having a conversation with you right now online.
Right.
It was just so crystal clear with her. What she had me do was flip 6 tarot cards. And that was a direct message from her of things that I needed to work on. That was homework. Like, yep, see this card right here? This is what you need to be working on.
Yeah.
This is what you need to be working on. And I was like, okay. And I was like, when am I going to see you again? And she's like, when you've completed the lesson. And so she left. And I went into the house. Again, I was talking to my husband because I always like to tell him everything that's going on and what I'm doing. I was telling him about the cards and the lessons that she was asking me to learn. As I was talking to him, we do have a train about a mile from our house, and we hear it all the time. We've been there for 11 years. This train sounded like it was in my backyard. It was so loud. And as I'm talking to him about her, we can hear it go by, and it was 3 loud, long whistles, right? And I was like, have you ever heard the train so loud? And he was like, never in my life have I heard the train that loud. It sounds like it's in our backyard. I'm like, that's her saying goodbye. And it was just so magical. And I could go on and on. We don't have really much time, but I've had dreams that she's given to me. And I know that it was her.
Yeah.
To have me reflect on things in my life. And so that's what she does with me. And I've been working with her for over 6 months now. And once I've completed a lesson, she'll come back and I'll feel her. And I know her energetic signature.
Yeah.
And I know that, okay, I've completed a cycle. I've learned everything that you've given me kind of as homework.
Right.
And now it's time for me to learn something new, a new lesson.
Yeah.
So that's how she comes to me.
Yeah.
She's there, she gives me a lesson, and then she dips.
Is
Because she's like, I've got other shit to do.
Yeah.
But I feel like if I really needed her, I could call on her for rituals or spells or anything like that. But for right now, she's just teaching me.
Yeah. I feel very loving energy from her. Not mother, but maybe aunt.
It's strict, but it's kind.
That's what
It's
I-
almost
yeah.
like, go at your own pace. Here's your lesson. This is what I want you to learn. You can learn it in a week.
You don't want to disappoint her.
Really, you don't. But at the same time, she'll start nudging you and reminding you, like, if you're off course, for me anyway.
Yeah.
Perceptions is one of the things that she gave to me. I need to start seeing things from other people's perspectives.
Yeah.
And this was like a 2-month process of me actually like going into meditation and thinking about the person that I dislike the most in this world. And then she would have me go down and feel them from their perspective. So it wasn't just seeing things from their perspective, but actually going and feeling like I was inside of that person.
Right.
It was so weird. Like,
Yeah.
I've never done something like that before.
It makes you feel a deep sense of empathy.
She would make me empathize
Yeah.
with the person and give me a new perspective on why they're like that or why they did what they did, and to take my own ego out of it and completely put all of my energy into relating with them on a different level. Some of it is a hard pill to swallow
Yeah.
because you want to be mad at somebody or you want to dislike somebody. And then once you go down and you've empathized with them to the point that you felt like you were a part of them, it's completely different.
Yeah.
And it changes your perspective as well. You know, so, and I would notice I was doing it and I was doing a really good job. And then I would start to kind of fall off and forget that I was supposed to see things from other people's perspectives. And she would meet me in a dream or, you know, give me a really crazy, vivid nightmare almost to shake me into waking up.
Yeah.
To, hey, you're falling asleep in class, like, wake up.
I love that.
So it's not in a bad way, but she will remind you.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we're doing something here. You're taking my class, remember?
Yeah. Pay attention.
Yeah. It's like, I'm not going to look over your shoulder all the time, but I am going to come back and check on you. And if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, I'll kind of give you a nudge in that direction. And then there was also metaphors within the dream as well. And then I would wake up from the dream like, oh, that's something that I forgot about. And so I really love that about her because I've worked with other deities before. With some of them, you have to devote your time to them for 30 days or a year or for the rest of your life or whatever. With her, she's like, nope, I'll come in, show you what you need to know. I'm a dip.
Yeah.
I've got a million other things to do. I'm busy.
I'm going to help you elevate yourself.
I'm going to help you elevate, but with homework, more or less. And that's how she is with me. And I don't know if she's like that with everybody because I know there's these deities, and especially Hecate, she's so multifaceted. You know, she might come to you in a different way. Like, she'll connect with you when you're at the beach or when you're at a crossroads in your life, and she'll come to you in certain parts of your life. For me, she's coming to me this way because maybe that's the way I learn.
Well, she's the teacher of witchcraft. I'm getting chills, so I know I'm feeling her. In order to be the best kind of teacher, and she's the ultimate teacher, you have to know how to teach each student. And each student learns differently.
Yeah.
I would say another time reflecting back that I know I felt her, but I didn't know it was her yet because I hadn't learned exactly what channeling was or anything. When you came to my house and gave me the tools to give myself a spiritual bath. So part of this spiritual bath is when you're draining the tub, you take some of the bath water into a glass jar, and then you go to a crossroad. And this is from Sahdi's directions. and you throw it over your shoulder, hear it crash, and whatever kind of curse or anything that's been put on you will be lifted. And I did that.
The glass breaks and the curse breaks.
Yeah. And when that happened, I just remember I was vibrating. I was like, I am vibrating right now. Like I feel so much energy and da da da. And I attributed it at the time to.
I remember that because we went together. We drove down to
Isn't
the
that
railroad
wild?
tracks together, and you came back and you're like, my whole body's vibrating. And I'm like, that means it worked.
But isn't it funny that we connect?
Oh, we both felt the vibration.
Yes. And it's a crossroads.
Yep.
And we both work with Hecate. That's the only deity we
Shit,
cross
I never
over on.
thought about that until right now.
Me too. Same.
I'd be curious to hear if anybody listening that's worked with Hecate has also felt that vibrational energy that I was just talking about.
That's what brought us together.
It is.
Oh my God. I just made that connection. Look at my arms. I got goosebumps.
That's true
everywhere.
because before that we had known each other and we were acquaintances, but we weren't friends yet. She was going through some stuff. She thought about me.
Which is crazy. I didn't even know Sahdi was a medium or anything. And I messaged her and I said, I know this is going to sound crazy, but somebody's putting a curse on me.
Yeah. And so I rushed over with the spiritual bath. I knew exactly what she needed.
Yeah.
And that's crazy. That is how we connected and bonded, was over that ritual.
Yeah. And then we've been joined at the hip ever since.
Yeah.
Thank you, Hecate.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, I'm going to give her an offering tonight.
Right?
We have to wrap this up. I wish this could be a 5-hour long episode, but it can't be. So that is all the tea we have to spill this week. You guys remember to keep your minds open.
Namaste, bitches.